Let's explore a connection that many with ADHD know well: the profound impact of rejection. From small misunderstandings to feelings of exclusion, these experiences can leave lasting marks. But there is hope in ways to understand and face this. And that is exactly what we will discuss today. Rejection may seem like just another part of life, but for those with ADHD, it often carries a much greater emotional weight. This happens because ADHD not only affects attention, but also emotions. The brain processes certain experiences more intensely, and this includes times when you feel like you are not accepted or valued. Something that for someone else may be just a minor annoyance, like a critical comment or the feeling of being ignored, can turn into a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. These feelings are often accompanied by negative self-evaluation, as if each rejection confirms the fear of not being good enough. Additionally, the fear of disappointing others or not meeting expectations is a constant companion. It creates a kind of negative anticipation, as if you are always waiting for the moment when something will go wrong. This can lead to behaviors such as trying to please everyone, avoiding conflict, or even isolating oneself to avoid the risk of rejection. It's not that you're weak or incapable of handling it. It's the way your brain works, processing these moments with an intensity that seems uncontrollable. The thought patterns that arise around rejection can be very cruel. You may end up ruminating about what happened, trying to find a reason, or reliving the situation over and over again. This tendency is not something you choose, but an amplified emotional response that feeds on the sensitivity characteristic of ADHD. Understanding why this happens is the first step to breaking this cycle. When you recognize that the intensity of these feelings does not define your worth or the reality of the situation, you can begin to create a new relationship with rejection. Rejection-sensitive dysphoria, or RSAD, is a term that helps name something that many people with ADHD feel, but have difficulty explaining. It's not just an ordinary sadness or disappointment. It is emotional pain so intense that it can seem almost physical. Small rejections or criticisms, even when they were unintentional, can trigger a disproportionate reaction, which takes over your thoughts and seems impossible to ignore. It's as if the mind amplifies every detail, transforming something small into an immense weight. This type of reaction may make you blame yourself or feel like you're overreacting, but that's not true. This is not a question of weakness or lack of emotional control, but of a sensitivity inherent to the functioning of the ADHD brain. People with RSAD tend to be extremely empathetic and perceptive, which on the one hand makes them more connected to the emotions of others, but on the other, exposes them to greater emotional impact when they feel rejected or inadequate. Identifying this reaction is essential to understand that it is not a defect or something that needs to be fixed. People living with RSAD often try to avoid situations that could lead to rejection, which can mean walking away from important opportunities, friendships, or experiences. This constant fear can turn into a cycle of isolation and low self-esteem, which only reinforces the feeling of inadequacy. But it's important to remember that this sensitivity also has its positive side. It reflects a deep connection with the world around you, an ability to feel intensely both difficulties and moments of joy. With time and the right tools, you can learn to recognize these feelings and deal with them in a healthier way, without letting the pain of rejection define who you are or what you are capable of achieving. The pain of rejection can be devastating, but facing it begins with accepting that these feelings are real and valid. Often, the first instinct is to blame yourself or try to ignore what happened, but this only adds to the emotional weight. Instead, it's important to give space to your emotions, acknowledging the impact the rejection had on you without judgment. This does not mean holding on to pain, but understanding that it is part of the human process of feeling and growing. Challenging automatic thoughts can be a powerful tool. When rejection happens, the mind often goes into a cycle of self-criticism and negative assumptions, such as, "I'm not good enough," or "it's always going to be this way." Questioning these beliefs can help reduce their intensity. Asking yourself if there is real evidence for these thoughts, or remembering times when you were valued, can bring a more balanced perspective. Practicing self-compassion is another essential step. It's about treating yourself like you would treat a dear friend who is going through a difficult situation. Saying simple phrases to yourself, such as "it's normal to feel this way, and it will pass," can ease the emotional burden. Small gestures of self-care, like taking a moment to relax or engaging in something you love, also help rebuild your confidence. Setting emotional boundaries can be liberating. This means recognizing that not every opinion or reaction of others defines who you are. Creating a healthy distance between what others say and what you believe about yourself can bring more clarity and peace. Over time, these practices create a stronger emotional foundation, allowing you to face rejection with resilience, knowing that it does not determine your worth. Rejection can feel like the end of something, but it can also be the beginning of a growth process. Every time you face the pain of not being accepted or being criticized, there is an opportunity to reflect on what happened and find ways to strengthen yourself. This does not mean ignoring the pain, but rather giving it a new meaning. Instead of seeing rejection as a reflection of your worth, you can start to see it as a sign that you're trying, taking risks, and putting yourself out there in the world. That, in itself, is a demonstration of courage. Learning from rejection involves looking at it with curiosity rather than judgment, asking yourself what can be learned from that experience, whether it's about how to improve or how to better choose the people and situations around you, helps turn a difficult moment into a valuable lesson. Not every rejection is fair or about something you could have done differently. Sometimes it simply reflects someone else's limitations, opinions, or circumstances, and understanding this can ease the weight you carry. Strengthening self-esteem amid these experiences requires patience. Recognizing your achievements, even small ones, helps build a solid foundation of confidence. Every time you choose to pick yourself up after rejection, you are proving to yourself that you are more resilient than you think. The fear of rejection lessens when you realize that it doesn't have the power to define who you are. Over time, these experiences become a source of learning and even motivation, pushing you to pursue what really matters with more clarity and determination. Facing rejection is an experience that can feel overwhelming, especially when it directly affects our self-esteem. But it's important to remember that no one needs to go through this alone. Connecting with others can be a powerful relief, helping to transform the weight of rejection into an opportunity for healing and empowerment. Sometimes it can feel like no one understands exactly what you're feeling, but there are people who identify with your experience and can offer the emotional support you need. Being surrounded by a support network, whether made up of close friends, family, or even people in specific communities, can bring a sense of belonging that combats feelings of isolation. When you share your struggles with someone who really listens and understands, the impact of rejection can lessen. You begin to realize that your worth does not depend on other people's opinions or actions. Little by little, these connections help rebuild the trust that rejection may have shaken. However, it is not always easy to build these relationships, especially when the fear of rejection is already so present. This is why finding safe spaces is essential. ADHD communities, whether online or in person, could be a place where you meet people who have experienced similar challenges. These spaces not only allow you to feel seen, but they also help you learn from other stories and strategies. Sometimes hearing how someone else handled a similar situation can bring insights and inspiration that you might never have considered. Additionally, relationships that already exist in your life can become stronger when you open up authentically. Expressing your emotions and vulnerabilities with people close to you is not a sign of weakness, but rather of courage. Often, people around you want to help, but don't know how. By allowing them to understand what you are going through, you give them the opportunity to be there for you in a meaningful way. And even if some of these attempts are not successful, that does not diminish their value or the positive impact that other connections can bring. Community can also be found in unexpected places. A support group, a class, or even a conversation with a stranger who shares your condition can create moments of genuine connection. These interactions, as simple as they may seem, have the power to alleviate feelings of loneliness and reinforce that you are part of something bigger. The simple act of sharing a moment of understanding can transform someone's day, and yours too. Recognizing the importance of being connected doesn't mean you should ignore your emotions or rely solely on others to feel good. True connection is a two-way street, where you can also offer support while receiving. Not only does this help strengthen bonds, but it also reinforces that you have something valuable to offer, even in moments of vulnerability. Being part of a support network means remembering that no one is defined by their difficulties. What really matters is how we choose to face challenges and support each other along the way.
If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, we prepared the next video especially for you. Click here to watch.